Peace and blessings. My name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle, Black Authors Matter, and today I have none other than the main man, Mr. Sibo. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, man. I'm so grateful to be here with you. Very well.
So, before we start, I want to ask you, if you will, share who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Sibo Campbell. I am an author, creative director, and creative strategist, I guess. I have worked all over the world in different capacities, but as of late, I'm most known for the novel that I wrote, Sky Full of Elephants, which is about a world in which all the white people in America walk into the nearest body of water and drown and leave the country to people of color and primarily black people to really be analytical about how we would survive in that capacity. What things would we change? What things that we've forgotten would be remembered? What spaces would we create? And ultimately, who will we become? And so that has been my motivation as a creative all over my lifetime, but certainly in my adulthood, is how do I make space for us? How do I make space for us to imagine and then make space for us to actualize? How can I contribute to that? And
Mm.
so that's what I do every day of the week. That's what I'm doing.
So, man, look, hey, I love it. So, I want to ask you, starting this off, what made you what made you go about this way of thinking to create this book? Because you could have took many different aspects of this book or a book, but
Mm.
you removed white people. What made you do
Well, I think the origin is frankly growing up black. You when you start to move outside of the spaces um, that are, let's say, unfamiliar to you, right? You realize, oops, sorry, I realize how important it is for um, the spaces that you grew up in to be brought forward, right? Like I grew up, I had my, big family, a lot of brothers and sisters. I had cousins. I had the rec center where we were always hanging out. And there's a certain way of life that felt like it was less about somebody leading you and more about you gathering around the nucleus. It felt like everybody was family all the time. And that, I think, instigated a sense of abundance, it instigated a sense of I have everything I need. Even if I don't have much, I got everything I need 'cause I got my people. But the minute that you leave that world, all of a sudden it feels like you're in a state of scarcity. You never have enough. You can't move. You aren't free. And that state of mind, that desire to sort of find in our basic interior lives the magic, like find that and apply it to the larger scale. What does that look like? And to me, it was really interesting. It was interesting to think about, if there were no white people, what would we do different? And I
it?
challenge myself with that question all the time. If I'm in a space and I go, if there were no white people in here, what would I change about this? What would I do differently? And not just me, like I'm gonna be the same no matter what. But would this space be the same way? Would it even be designed this way? I mean, you
Mm,
think about the basic architecture of a city. You take the basic architecture of like a fancy neighborhood. You've got these streets that are built in such a way that they create distance between each other. You got these gigantic yards that are like grassed and paved, and no one can walk on it. And it's like antithetical to nature. That's not how I grew up, especially in the South. The South was like, if you got land, you use it. It becomes communal spaces.
mhm,
If you have roads, you walk those roads, right? So they're not just about the cars; they're to be treaded, with bare feet and I'd say light souls. And so that sort of creates a gathering, creates a sense of community, but connection more than anything else. And so when I look at physical spaces, I look at the way cities are built. I look at the way classrooms are constructed. I don't see our culture in it. I see
mhm,
someone else's culture. I see someone else's imagination. And I'm like, that's not my imagination. That's not the imagination I grew up with. Indeed, I know so thoroughly that I'm living in someone else's imagination that if I sit here and I go, if I had full reign, what would I do differently? It's the fundamentals, man. It's like, well, one, everybody would be fed, would nobody be hungry, and
come
that
on.
feels antithetical. It's like, why are people starving? I know day one that wouldn't happen. If if I had my way, everyone would have housing. A lot of people who don't have housing doesn't make sense to me. Well, you have all this space and you have people, and so that feels like counter to everything I know about my culture. And so the thinking was, if I were to bring my way of life into these spaces and they change, can I put the reader and anyone that's interacting with anything I do, not just readers, but can I put them in a position where they're imagining it too? They're imagining that change. And if they can picture it and I can picture it, then I think that's the prerequisite to it becoming our reality. And so that's what the approach is like. I have a question in my head. I'm going to write it into this book. And then when you read it, you're going to have the same question. And then we're going to answer it together. We're going to figure it out one way or the other. We're going to get to the other side of it. You feel me?
The name. I understand what the name means because I read the book, but I want you to explain what the Sky Full of Elephants mean.
It's a funny story how it actually came about, because the name of the book came into my mind long before the book was ever written, and it was I was out with some friends. This was years and years and years ago, when I lived in Florida, North Florida. I'm out with some friends. We go to a Publix. If you're from the South, you know what a Publix is. We walk to the Publix, and I go in the store. My friends are outside. I'm with all white friends. I go in the store, and I'm just checking out, grabbing some beers or something, so we can go to the beach. And they stop me in the store, and they think I stole something, and they've got me up in a little room. They're checking up. I'm telling them, like, why would I steal something for you? I could pay for it. And they, ask me all these questions, whatever. So I'm in there for a while. When I finally come out, my friends were like, "What's going on? What happened?" I tell them, I'm like, "This happens to Black people all the time. This type of thing is so normal for me. It seems shocking to you, but it's so normal for me that I'm just like, shrug, let's keep moving." And one of the women that I was with, interestingly enough, she's from Wisconsin, this white lady. She said, "Could you just be making that up?" And I thought, what about that would I make up? And she goes, "Well, I hear all these stories about how Black people think that kind of stuff happens. I think maybe it's just like you're afraid of it. And so you think it's happening because of your race." And what I said to her was this. I said, "It's like I'm telling you that the sky is full of elephants, and I can see the elephants and you can't." And that lived in my brain for a long time. And it didn't, sometimes you have an idea in your mind, but it doesn't fully germinate or doesn't flower,
Later.
And until later, exactly. And then I was like, as I started writing the book, the idea of the elephant and memory and scale and this sort of connection to the continent and the density and the elephant in the room, all these things were like coming together in my brain. And I was like, that's it. And then the crazy thing, Carlos, bro, I was like, in the book she says the name of the book, or I think it's actually the king. It's Harold, the king's son. He says the name of the book. That wasn't intentional. I was just writing. Sometimes you're writing and you're just sort of letting the characters speak, and you're just documenting what they say. They're just speaking in your head. And then he just said it. He was like, it's a sky full of elephants. And I was like, I didn't have a title yet. And when he said it in the story, I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. It's got to be it. And that's how it all came together. So it was a story that happened years ago. It was germinating. And as I'm writing the book, the name just comes up.
Because in the book, when it speaks about a sky full of elephants, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was speaking about the Blackness.
Yes.
It was speaking about the essence of who we are and our ancestors and everything being there, but you cannot pull the frequency of it here into this contraption that they was creating was able to pull it. And for white people, it became agony.
Yes.
That's the reason why they walk themselves into the abyss or into the water, while everybody else felt joy. We felt relieved. It was freedom.
That's it. That's exactly it. It was our collective consciousness.
Yes.
That's sort of, and it is, if you think about everything that we've been through as a people, not just on this continent, but worldwide, we are carrying so much history that is inclusive of pain and struggle, and it's been withheld, right? it's in our chest, it's in our
Mm-hmm.
minds, but we can't do anything about it. It's not like you can go outside and show your anger. It's so complex now that it ain't simple enough just go punch somebody in the face and get rid of it. Can't get rid of that kind of trauma. And then simultaneously, as our emotions are withheld, the sort of, for lack of a better term, the recompense, the emotions of the people who are doing the oppressing, theirs are withheld too. They don't feel
Mm-hmm.
shame, right? They don't grieve our people. Like those emotions that every human being should have, they're withholding theirs too, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize it. When that machine turns on, we are relieved of our emotions, and now they have to discover theirs.
And
And
they
the
deal with
minute
it
that
by
they
killing
do,
themselves.
wouldn't I mean if you did that to that many people for that long and never felt a thing,
Mm.
and then you walk in that seat too. I mean, what else you gonna do? There's no way to reconcile what has happened to Black people all over the world for so long. There's no way to reconcile that in a lifetime. There's no way. So get rid of your life, because there's just no way to do it. You can't do it. You cannot make amends in your lifetime for what has happened, and that's an astonishing thing to say. But it's when I say it, I'm saying it in part
Mm-hmm.
to people of the diaspora, but I'm also saying it to Europeans, to white people. I'm like, listen, don't you realize how bad that is? Like, do you in your everyday life, does it ever occur to you that lifetimes of trauma Black people are still processing today because of something your ancestors did? And you can look at me and treat it like, well, we didn't do that. How could you not, when you're living on top of it? How could you not? If you are living in a space in which you own a house and you own 2 cars and you've got money in the bank, that is all built on top of the backs of these people that you're still looking at going, it's time for you to get over it. How are we supposed to get over that?
Mm.
How can you process it in this community? How can you process it in our current reality? You can't. And so the book was like, if I can't process it and you can't process it, when we turn this machine on, we both gonna have to, and we're gonna be relieved, and you will not. I assure you, you won't.
So you said a lot just then. And
Sorry
yeah,
about that.
no.
I
I
get
know.
I
I
get going.
appreciate that.
Mm,
So I know they always, especially when you think about psychological things,
mhm,
they speak about the Jewish community and
mhm,
how they went through what they went through. And here we are, no more than probably about 70, 80, maybe 90, 100 years later. I think it was like, what, 1930, 35, up to
mm,
35. So about 90 some years. And how they are still dealing with the emotions and things of their trauma. But when it
correct.
comes to us, it's get over
Let's
it.
get
And
over it.
the psychological part, from what they claim that these people went through, and then you look at 400 years, 400 or 500 years plus of this
Yeah,
on this one group of individuals,
yeah,
to 240, 250 years of slavery, a
yeah.
100 years of Jim Crow, 60 years, yes, of integration, but of mass incarceration, of um, redlining, of everything that you can think of. But you say get over it because you're just looking at it from just slavery. You don't see everything, or what they call it, the vestiges of everything that came after this that still
Yes.
got us in a, they said DNA captures emotions from your great 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 great
Hmm.
grandparents. But you think
Hmm.
this trauma ain't sitting in our DNA right now, even though it makes us stronger because we learn how to get past and do things anyway. But why should we have to get
Yes.
over it?
I don't think we should. When I think of the Jewish community, I try to be thoughtful about it, because what we end up doing is comparing traumas, and that's
Hmm.
never a good place to be. But what I will say is that, you know, one of the things that happened to the Jewish community is they were given reparations,
Talk to
right?
him.
And the reparations did allow for them to create space and communities for their identity to flourish, and then that identity can be applied. Now, when we talk about Jewish people, we're talking most. Um, it's almost fully more of a sort of spiritual practice than a people, because Jewish is broken apart in a lot of different places. When you
Mm-hmm.
talk about blackness, you're talking about an ethnicity, a race, and you're talking about a culture all at once. And so it covers a lot of ground. The Jewish community had a specific blame for what happened to them. So they went and they said the Germans did this, Hitler did this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And every time you see that swastika, every time you see that little mustache, you go, they did that to the Jews. And because they have a definitive blame on an individual and or a specific group of people, they can claim a definitive reparations. Ours was across all of Europe. All of them did.
British, to your point, Britain, England, French,
French,
uh,
Spanish.
everybody that you think of was here, and I'm just going to use this continent. I'm just going to use the United States. Everybody was here and had parts in this. So technically, to your point, everybody owes.
Everybody owes. And that is a far more difficult thing for if you are Hitler, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole world says you did it, right? He may be like, I didn't do it, but because the whole world's saying you did it, then that's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do the reparations. But if the whole world did it, who's blaming them? It's just us. It's just us going, y'all did this to us, and they're like, no, we didn't. No, 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 no. And so we don't get to apply there's no wall against which we can throw blame,
Mm-hmm.
and in so doing, no sort of surface against which we can claim our inheritance, claim our reparations. And that makes it really difficult. It makes it really complex as well. And I think the complexity, there's a term, I'm trying to remember the term, there's a term in politics about you intentionally make something so complex that people stop caring about it.
Mm.
I'll remember the term is blanking on me now, but you intentionally make it complex. Like if you go and you want to do your taxes, right? You go, I need somebody to help me with these taxes because it's too complex, but it's intentionally too complex so that you just pass it along. You don't even think too much about it. That is how our situation, I think, plays out in the current reality. Is it's such a complex thing because not only have we been oppressed across multitudes of generations, not only have we been processing, trauma in the worst kind of things that can be done to a man have been done to us,
Mm.
right? It's all of it, and yet we achieve heights no one else can.
Mm.
And so it's very difficult to then be like, you guys, we want to reward you,
But
and we
you
want
didn't
to give you
achieve
back
so
what
much.
right, you did it anyway. And right. So a great example of what I mean is if you look at any of the Black Wall Streets, there's
Mm-hmm.
a great like a sort of microcosm where you go, okay, you take Tulsa. Tulsa is less than a half a generation removed from slavery. They're like
Mm-hmm.
20, 40 from slavery, and they're able to build a city that is basically the highest. It had the highest economy in all of that area. The South is considered the South at the time, but like Midwest at the highest economy. And they bombed that place. They was like, nah, y'all, you mean to tell me that you've been enslaved
Enslaved.
for 300 years, because you take the South American trade, slave trade, moving it up to the islands and into America, being enslaved all this time. We give you 30 years and now you got the highest economy. Is you crazy? We're bombing it, right? That's what I mean. So now they go, we not only have we enslaved you, not only have we oppressed you, not only did you have to fight for rights just to be civil to you, just to be
Good God.
civil, which is crazy, which is nuts, just to be civil. But in the midst of that,
You
you
achieve
produce
greatness.
greatness. I'm talking, bro. When I look at look, I'm gonna show you. Look on my wall right here. You see that? That's a
Mm-hmm.
signed Michael
Jordan.
Jordan worn jersey signed by Michael Jordan. I think about him at times, and I'm like, this brother. He come out of North Carolina where there was some of the worst enslavement happening in the country in South Carolina, North Carolina, right? And he becomes, if not the most popular and known person on the planet, and one of the wealthiest on
Michael
the
Jackson.
planet.
Look,
Michael
Michael
Jackson.
Jackson. You can. I'm gonna go back because you've said a lot. Even when from 1865 to I want to say that just in 1900, they
Mhm.
said our reading level. We was the fastest to ever read that fast in American in history. But it wasn't that we was
True.
it wasn't that we was ignorant to literature or anything, because think about Africa before this. We
Mhm.
were just ignorant to this because they wouldn't allow us.
Yes.
Everything that we have accomplished, and this is what changed my mentality from a victimhood to a thriver. I don't even want to say survivor, but thrivers digest. When I looked at our
Mhm. Mhm.
existence, I started thinking, and yes, two things can happen at one time. You can be a victim and a thriver at the same time.
Yes.
Depends on what side of the coin. Because if this was a quarter, imagine this being heads, imagine this being tails. You can only see one side at a time while knowing both of exist. Yes, I had
Mhm.
to look through because I ended up
Mhm.
doing studying history for like 3.5 years consistently.
Mhm.
And then it turned into longer and I'm still studying now. So it's probably about 15, 16 years now. But what
Mhm.
ended up happening was I seen everything that had happened, the lynchings, slavery, the lynchings, being shot and killed by police. And it broke down in my mind. They said, according to studies, I'm gonna just boost the number up. Imagine if it was 6,000 lynchings.
Mhm.
Imagine if it was, I'm gonna just give you 2,000 people being murdered by the police, shot and killed over
Mhm.
the last, and this is a high number I'm giving it, but over from 2012 to now,
Mhm.
out of 45 to 60,000, I mean 60 million people, that's not a lot.
Mhm.
What is a lot is our emotions that we feel.
Mhm.
Because now I'm thinking that this could be me at any given
Mhm.
time. So it
Mhm.
heightens everything. And then
Mhm.
what I have to be able to do is think, what did we accomplish to your point? And I looked at everything that we had accomplished from slavery to now. You had slaves that created things that they wasn't even supposed to create. You had
Mhm.
people who came out of slavery that created things that they wasn't supposed to be able to create. And here we are
Mhm.
today. We are, and there was a shirt that says this, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of the things that the power that we possess, not because we were slaves, but because those people were something greater before they even ended up in slavery. These were prisoners of war.
Yeah. Indeed. No question. No
And
question.
and here we are today, probably the greatest people that have ever, and I'm not taking away from anybody else, but probably the greatest people that have ever walked this planet, not just because of what we have created, but because of why this isn't on fire.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. When you think about everything that we've endured, if you were to take it and look at it like a distance that one has to travel, right? And if you take an average white American and you go, okay, let's say you're born and your parents have a house, they'll probably be able to give you their house. If nothing else, you better get a loan, based off that. Probably solid credit score. But more than that, you don't feel like you are carrying a weight when you move
Mm-mm,
through the world. Okay. And so the distance that you have to travel to achieve any sense of success, it's only about that far, right? You go
mm-hmm.
from here to here and you got a good job, you can take care of your family, you're here to here. The distance that we have to travel
From being
is
broke.
all the way over here.
Come
It's
on
way
now.
back. And we have the capacity and the potential to achieve far beyond anything that they can imagine. And this is why Our greatest skill, I believe, and this predates any enslavement, was that we had the ability to always create something out of nothing.
We
It's,
do
it's
it.
we do it every time, every single time, especially when we need it. We come out of. I mean, they give you the
The
pig
slop.
intestines and you make chitlins,
Come
right?
on
Like
now.
and they still eating it right now. You go, you can always do that. That is the precursor to abundance, which is to say we are a people of abundance.
Hmm.
My issue is this, because we don't realize we're often at war with scarcity. So we are abundant, but scarcity is on the other side of us, always coming, always taking. And so I don't think we will ever be, the feeling will ever be resolved. That victimization, you'll never feel like they anyone has made you feel whole because of what has happened to you. They're not going to do it. So it's the idea of that side of the coin. You just have to let it go, right? But then the flip side of it is you also do not want to be exploited again,
Mm-mm.
and they will. So every time we achieve greatness, the next thing is they go, how do we exploit that?
Mm-hmm.
Right. When you create something, how do we own it? When
Mm-hmm.
you achieve, athletic feats, how do we sell you to other people? Right. So it's a constant state of exploitation, and that is what turns abundance into scarcity. The minute that you create something, someone takes it and then they try to sell it back to you. Now you can't get it and it's scarce. That's the battle. That has actually always been the battle, but it's clearer now than it ever has been,
Mm-hmm.
because I think capitalism has reached a sort of critical. It's definitely reached critical mass, in my opinion. But we're at this place now where we can look at the world, speaking the money talk and speaking the human talk at the same time, and we go,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute. I know when you put, this is a
You're
wolf
trying
trap
to
you're trying to
dupe us.
sell me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they do it all the time. And I say they, I mean capitalists, which happen to be the majority of them are white. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
all white people, but it's just the majority of them. And they're always trying to take advantage of anything they can. They're always just trying to take advantage of it. And so my thinking is, we as a people, while we have such astonishing potential. It's astonishing. We are also abundant, which means our nature is to give. Our nature is like, I got plenty. You need it,
I got
I'll
it.
give it to you. Right? This goes back to what I was saying about our culture and our communities. It's always been like that. It's like, yo, you need something, I got you. Like, you don't even ask. Go back to when we were living on the continent, all of us together, right?
Mm.
That continent grew everything you could possibly want. There's abundant food, abundant
Nobody hungry.
water, nobody hungry. You could build anything you want. You had so much abundance. You got to spend your time creating math, creating science, creating art, because you didn't have to worry about survival,
Come on.
right? Because of that mentality, if someone arrived to your doorstep and they was like, I need some, you would say, look, there's fruit all on the trees, bro. You can have whatever you want. You need what you want. You want some yams? Here, take the yams. Like, whatever you need, I got you. Because of that mentality, which also still lives in our DNA,
Mm-hmm.
it translates into when scarcity comes, we almost think of it as someone in need, and we go, if you need it, I got you. Because of that instant exploitation, instant. And so we have to protect against, unfortunately, our nature, or to protect our nature, because otherwise it'll be taken advantage of. And I think the best sort of strategy for protecting that nature without losing who you are is community. When we are
Mm-hmm.
together, we protect each other. When we are together, we can talk that out. We could be like, yo, don't do that. Don't think they're trying to do this. And then we can collectively protect each other. But when we're isolated as individuals, or isolated
They can
as
do it. They can
people,
treat you to however
like,
they want to treat
and they do it every time. They do it every time. This is why you only recently do you start to hear words like diaspora, because before that it was like, oh no, y'all African American and y'all are Ethiopians and y'all are, I know we black, we a part of the
you.
same thing.
That's it.
Don't mistake it. And so it's a worldwide community. And once we've established that, we can protect ourselves against exploitation as a unit, because we have the same value system. We have the same way of seeing the world. We have the same way of honoring the thing that matters, which is that we all got everything we need.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happened, we square, I think, and then we can stop worrying about being a victim, because the victimhood is constantly, if you imagine it like a like a surface of water. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when the water is still and it's quiet, you ain't thinking about victimhood. You're just doing what you do.
You
But
doing
every
what you
once in
gotta
a while,
do.
someone to come on, shake that water, and now you're like, you doing it again. You doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
Why you doing it again? And you start thinking about victimhood. Every time they go shoot somebody in the streets, exactly what you said.
That's
They
what happened
shoot
with the water.
one. That's what happens. It start to shake, and all of a sudden now it's taking everybody's attention, and that's what Toni Morrison often talked about. She's like, "Don't racism is a distraction," which is racism, exploitation, capitalism, all this stuff is a distraction from you fulfilling the potential of
Mm-hmm.
yourself, right? And so I'm big on that because I think my job as a creative, as a businessman, as a creative, as a brother in community with other brothers and sisters is like, how do we protect that? How do we do it? And my job is to make space. If I don't got the answers, let's make space. Let's gather around. Let's figure it out because I know we
Let's
can't.
get communal so our brains can do the collective consciousness again.
That's it. That's
So
exactly it.
I want to shift real quick because I want to
Mhm.
learn a little bit about your journey as being an author. Um, how has it been?
It's been interesting. It's been interesting. It's I've had a talk with Dr. Daniel Black, incredible writer, and he asked me, he goes, "How does it feel being a writer?" And it kind of took me by surprise because I told him, I was like, I don't actually think of myself as a writer. Like you saying it is a shock to me. Like, if okay, you're a writer, I'm just an artist, and I'm just trying to make stuff. I have a story that I want to tell, and I don't really like the canvas of the story doesn't matter as much to me if it's a painting, if it's a sketch, if I'm drawing, if I'm writing. What matters to me is clarity. Am I saying
Mm,
what is in me to be said? Am I saying it clear? And it just so happens that this time in my life, I'm clearer with my words when I write. You
that's the
know,
medium.
that's the medium, and that's just the one that's on my heart right now. It's like that's the one. I suspect in time it'll be, I feel myself leaning into filmmaking more than I have historically, and so I think in time it'll be another canvas. But the idea is I'm just trying to tell a story that's inside of me that I didn't put there. Somebody else put
Mm,
it there, and I just need to speak it clearly. That's my job. Speak it clearly, filter out all the noise, say what's on your heart, and it doesn't
manifest it
really
here.
matter. That's it. That's it. And so the journey has always been that. It's like since I remember, man, like when I was a kid, that's how it was. It was like I'd be sitting at my house and I used to when I was really young, I used to collect comic books, a big comic book fan. And I would take a comic and then I would like look at the cover and I would draw, like duplicate it. And it wouldn't be long before I was drawing my own. I could not make my own stuff. And I was
Hmm.
coming up with ideas and like if I had a character that lived in my neighborhood, they'd be doing this, so they'd be acting like this, so they have this kind of armor. And I just make up stuff. I don't know where that stuff is coming from. I don't know where those ideas are coming from. And then I got to like high school. I wrote a story about a little orphan that was he got picked up by a family who turned out to be vampires, and they were plumping him up. And he, over the time they were plumping him up, he was trying to figure out who his parents were. And on the night that they came to like eat him, like to eat this kid, he ran outside, and it was a full moon, and it turned out his parents were werewolves. He turns into a werewolf, eats the parents, and then he owns this house that they lived in, this big castle. I wrote this when I was like 12, right? And so I always had these ideas, and I do not know where they came from, but my job was to just try to figure out how to get it out of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get it out of how. And this wasn't limited to art in that way. I used to love to build furniture. I still kind of tinker with it. My grandfather did stucco. That was his art, and he was really really tedious. I don't know if you know what stucco is, but it's like when they do the
Mm-hmm.
external part of the building in the cement. He would do it by hand, bro. So he would be taking his trowel and he would be basically painting cement up 2, 4, 5, 6 story buildings by himself. Just put the scaffolding up. He would do the whole thing by hand. And I would watch him go dig in the beach, get the sand, get the water, make his own cement, get the mixer, and then pulley his cement up and just build a scaffolding, do it all by himself. And I was sitting there watching him do it. and it wasn't a chore to him. It was an art form. It was like he
Mhm.
was trying to express something, and get that energy out of him. This is, I think, where abundance comes from.
Mhm.
It's tapping into that energy, allowing it to flow out of you, and it will make something. It will make something that will
Mhm.
contribute positively to us all, I think. And so that's my job.
There's a Bible verse that goes with that. It says, "Your gift will make room for you and put you before
Mm,
great men." This is one of my
mm,
favorite verses. And it's your gift. You have many.
uh,
Whether it's really just being a creator that you are.
mm,
Remember, we are
mm.
created in God's image. So what we are capable of doing is just creating. But when
That's it.
you learn to hone into the gift, then the gift started doing what it's supposed to do. It started
Mm,
opening doors. It started creating finances that you would have never even
mm,
imagined. And it's then that things change. And the reason why I asked you about your journey is because most authors that right now you got more black authors that have ever been in America.
yeah, they're going,
You gotta
man. It's
remember,
beautiful.
at one
Beautiful.
time, they wouldn't let us read, so you know you ain't writing.
Mm.
But even then, when this wasn't happening, you had people who was creating literature.
Yeah.
But now you come into 2026, and while people say that uh that when it comes to reading and writing, especially reading in America, it's low. It's not for us.
Hmm.
You got more
Hmm.
people, black people, that are doing reading and writing books. All your
Hmm.
self-published authors. The reason why I asked about your journey is because I want them to understand from your journey, whether it was hard, whether it was easy, whether it was just you tapping into what you're tapping into, expressing that how it has been for you experientially.
Yeah. This
Talk
is
to
this
that.
is im- this is this is important. This is important because this gets to the business side of my brain, which is
Mm,
it actually, I think, will answer this question with more clarity. So I, as a business person, am quite strategic, and I will assess a lot of things before I act. And so the assessment oftentimes, firstly, is where I'm trying to get to. And I want to see it really clearly, like what is the goal?
mm,
And then from that goal, I'll work my way backwards and give milestones in order to arrive to that goal. And then within those milestones, I'm identifying people that I can reach out to at each of those milestones, because you can't achieve this stuff on your own. And so when I sat down, and I remember I had been running I still run, but I've been running a creative agency for 10 years when I
mm.
decided to go back to writing. And so I hadn't been writing at all. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to go back to writing, what does that look like? It's like, well, I know I want to be published by Big Five. Every time I walk into these bookstores and I see these other books, I want my book in there. I don't want to have no arguments about that. My book's got to be in this space. I want it to be, um, I want it to be popular. I want people to enjoy it, but I also wanted to say what I wanted to say. I didn't have a story yet in my head. I just knew I needed to say what I want to say, and I knew I wanted to write for the culture. My favorite writers were Toni Morrison. They were James Baldwin. I'm like, I want to be in that world. And I said, success looks like, and again, remember how important this is. You have to visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
It says success to me looks like I'm in New York and I'm in one of those big, you know, um, big buildings down in Midtown, and I'm meeting with my agent and I'm meeting with my publisher, and we're having cocktails and we're celebrating the success of this book. And it's a New
You
York Times
visualize.
bestseller. Visualize all of it now, real clear, real clear. And I said, I want that. And then I went, how do I get that? Now, remember, I didn't have a book. I didn't have an agent.
You ain't
I
got
didn't have
nothing.
nothing,
But
nothing.
you're seeing backwards where you're technically seeing from now.
Mm-hmm.
In your spirit, and this is just the way I see things, your spirit
Mm-hmm.
has touched past, present, future.
Indeed. It's outside of
But
time. It's
but
outside of time.
this body can only be in present. So
Mm-hmm.
the person that is now can see what you needed to see then. So you are able to visualize everything from backwards to be able to get
That's
to
it.
now. But go ahead.
That's it.
I apologize.
That's it. No, you know, you right on. You right on target. And so I said, I don't have anything. So how do I get from where I am now to being in New York in this building with these people and celebrating? And I was like, well, before you write the book and sell the book, well, before you sell the book, you got to write the book. So you got to
Hmm.
figure out what it's about. Before you write the book, you probably need to get an agent. You don't have an agent. You don't even know how to start. That means you need people that you can get connected to and get into the space, but they don't know you as a writer. So you need to really develop and develop your voice and put it out in the world. And so I was like, okay, who am I doing this for? It's
Mm.
like I know that I'm writing for the culture and I need an agent that identifies that. So I worked backwards from that and I said, this is the sort of the range of agents that I'm looking for. And then I looked at who they represented and the types of work that they were
Mhm.
putting out. And I was like, okay, now I can see the vein in which I need to write in. And then I went back and I was like, okay, if I was going to try to get an agent now, I can't write a novel because I'm not ready to write a novel yet. I can't do that. So how do I get into the literary community before I get to an agent? So I had this idea. I wrote it all down. I said I'm going to write a collection of poems first, and a
Mm.
collection of poems I'll self publish, but I'll use it as a mechanism that is indexable, which is to say, if someone Googles my name, they'll see I've written something. That's all it's for. It's not meant to do anything else. It's just a function as a sort of stake in the ground that says I am a writer now.
Resume.
Yeah, base essentially. If you think of it as even smaller than that, like quite literally, if it's indexable and someone types in Carlos Walker, what comes up on that screen?
Hmm.
All I wanted to do is be, oh, this brother wrote this book.
That's
That's
it.
it. And so I was like, let's do that first. Then once that's out, the next thing we're gonna, and I'm writing this down, everything I'm saying to you. I wish I had the paper with me. I could show it to you.
Now
I wrote it
I got
down.
a verse to give you real quick. Hold that thought. The
Hit
Bible
me.
says, write the vision and make it plain. So he who sees it will take it and run with it. It is for an
Talk
appointed
about it.
time. It's just speaking out loud. Wait for it. Though it may tarry, wait for it. That's Habakkuk 2 and 2. Go ahead.
Talk about it. Talk about it. I've heard that verse many times. So I wrote down, I'm going to write this collection of poems because it's the easiest lift for me creatively. And then that'll be indexable. Then I'll write a collection of short stories. And each one of those short stories, I'm going to sell to different magazines so that magazines are writing about me as an author. And now I'm in the literary community. And then I'm going to take the short stories and start to see if I can find an agent. And in between that, I'm going to have an idea for a novel. And I'm going to use the short stories to get my agent. And then I'm going to write this novel and then I'm going to sell it. And then that novel is going to win out and I'm going to be in New York. That's how I drew it up. That was the strategy. And so I wrote this collection of poems first. It was called, originally it was called Conversations with Women. And I self-published it. I entered it into a contest and it won the contest. And the contest was like, we're going to republish this under us. And so now I'm a published writer because they picked this thing up. And I was like,
Hmm.
dope. So it's super indexable. You Google my name back then, that's what came up. And it was on everything. Um, it was before Consortium came out, but it was right at the time where you got distribution across a lot of digital channels. And then I was like, okay, dope, that's good. Like I'm getting traction. So now I'm gonna write this collection of short stories and I'm gonna take each one and I'm gonna like sell them. And so I wrote this whole thing. It's called Qualities of Soil. And it was short stories about black people doing extraordinary things, like uncommon but extraordinary. Like one story was about this black woman who moved out into Montana and she was just her and her dog. And one day a mountain lion came and took her dog off into the woods and she went hunting this mountain lion. And it was the idea that you're hunting the thing that's hunting you, kind of thing. So I wrote all these short stories. And my plan was, as I wrote it up, I'm going to go out and I'm going to send this to magazines. I sent it to one magazine, one, and they sent it to an agent. And then I started getting calls. I didn't even get it all done. The agents was like, "Yo, this is great. Like, let's talk." And so I called, get my wife, and I was like, "Look, this thing is happening. I think it's about to make some moves. I think I'm about to get an agent." And she goes, "Talk to my wife's an actor. She's like, talk to my manager. He might know which ones you should be talking to." So I get on the call with her manager. He's like, "Can you send me the short stories?" And I give it to him, and he's like, "Can I represent you?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I guess." And he was like, "I'm gonna get you an agent." He goes and he uses that at the time it wasn't even a full book; it was only like 6. He took them and he ended up getting me several agents to interview,
Right.
and I got to sit with multiple ones. And I was like, "I've got an idea for a book I want to write." And I was like, "It's about all the white people, um,
What year
you
was
know,
this? I just want to know.
drowning."
Oh, what years did this stuff
This
span?
was 2020. It was right, maybe 2020. So maybe 2020, yeah, right around 2020. So it wasn't long ago. It wasn't long ago.
This is when you first came
Um,
up with the idea to do all of this, and
yeah,
then the stages of it started. So I got. Do you even know
maybe
what the
it's 20,
word?
2019.
Do you know what the word
2019.
future stands for? I mean, what does it
Mm-mm,
mean?
mm-mm. Go ahead, hit me.
So I Googled, I heard somebody say it, then I Googled it, and it says a period or moment in time after speaking or writing. You have the,
Really?
I promise you, you have the ability to write, according to, remember the verse I just said, write the vision and
Yeah.
make it plain. You have the
Mm,
ability to speak and write your future. It's not your future until you speak or write it. This is what past says. Past says a moment or period in time before speaking or writing. What you was able
crazy.
to do was what most people don't understand that they have the power to do. And that
Mm,
is speak. This is what God told us. We were created in his image, but we seen God speak. And if I'm created in his
mm,
image, why can't I do the same thing? I can
mm.
when I find out I have the power to. You took and created your whole thing from what you've seen. And then as you walked in faith, the plan came together. Now you
It
are,
turned out, bro, exactly the way I'm describing it to you. It turned out exactly that. Just the way you just said it, it gives me a lot of it fills me up because that means I'm walking the path I'm supposed to be walking, right? Um, and so yeah, I called my wife. I interviewed several publishers, and I told them I'm going to write this book about all the white people walking into the ocean. And I knew that that ain't a book that everybody trying to publish, but because I've got multiple ones to talk to,
with it.
they're like, okay, we all right, let's do it. And I'm like, all right. So I picked the agent that I knew was going to give me the space to write what I wanted to write. I wrote the book, and this is a true story. I wrote it, and I only sent him the draft, right? Like I wasn't done with it. It was just like the draft. And he calls me and he's like, yeah, so I sent it out. And I'm like, sent it out to where? And he goes, I already sent it out to the publishers. And I was like, I know, but what? I just gave it to you. And he goes, I know. And he goes, you know, I'm gonna tell you something that's crazy. A publisher already wants to buy it. And I'm like, you gotta be joking. And it turned out that I had multiple offers within the first couple of days. And Simon & Schuster wanted to preempt it, which means that they wanted to buy it before anybody else bought it. They wanted to get in front. And they're like, we're going to put an offer on the table tonight. And
Mm,
so I got on a call with them. I was like, you know, I don't want to change this book.
mm.
So if you're looking at it and you're going, I want to modify it, we're not changing it. And she was like, no, this is what she said to me, because she goes, I know I'm dead in this book. So like, let's go. And I'm like, there you go. As long as you know that you dead in my book, we good. Her name's Olivia. And
Oh,
she
that's
she was
tough.
great, man. She was great, and she bought it. And there was a real moment where we had the book was out. It was 2 days or 3 days after launch. I was on like a book tour, and my agent, my manager, my wife, my publisher, we all went to dinner in New York.
This is the
And
moment.
this is the moment, and I'll never forget it because I had known that I had said that because I had planned it out, and then but I forgotten it. Like it wasn't in my mind, and I'm driving down um what is it, the highway on near the water. I forget the name of it. But I'm coming around the corner, I'm driving, and you can see all the buildings, you can see the Williamsburg Bridge and all of it, and I was like, oh whoa, this is it. This is the thing. This is the moment. This is what I'd imagined. This is it. And I knew it clear as day. I just arrived to that place that I had imagined all those years ago.
Mm.
And now I was like, okay, so what's next? What's next? Because I know I can see it and I can build the steps to achieve it. And so I wouldn't say if it's hard or if it's easy. I would say that I was willing to go in the direction of my aspirations no matter what. Period. And that is always going to be hard and it's always going to be easy. It's going to be both of those things. But you got to go. You just got to keep moving. And that's the thing. And I don't think that's, people make a big fuss out of it and they're like, it's difficult. It's difficult. So is walking. You know what I'm saying? For some people, so like just keep stepping, man. Keep moving in the direction that you want to go. And believing that destination, you will arrive to it, and you'll recognize it because you've been imagining it all this time. And so that's how it was. And I don't reflect on it with thinking, gosh, that was tough. I reflect on it thinking I can't wait to do it again. I can't wait to get to the next destination.
You appreciate the journey. That's what you learn to do.
Mm.
Most people don't know how to appreciate as they're going, number one.
Mm-hmm.
But two, most people don't realize what you was able to do was reflect back and realize that I got here. This is what I wrote down. This is what I envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you didn't realize it until you was there, but it clicked.
Yeah.
And you got to sit or bask in the awe of it
Yes.
all and be like, yo, I remember this.
That's exactly, bro. It was heavy. Like I was all teary eyed in the car. I was like, man, this is crazy. This is it. And, it's the lights. So this is nighttime, so the city's all lit up and glowing. And I'm full because I've accomplished this thing that I set out to accomplish, and for the people, and they're reacting to it in the way that I was hoping they would. They see me just like I saw them going into it, and so I felt really like at ease and at the same time exhilarated and at the same time humbled and at the same time eager to do it again and all of it all at once. Yeah, all of it, man. But I do think that it's important that people, like I said, you recognize the milestones, because the milestones are the ladder, the rungs on the ladder. People sometimes, even when they imagine something, they imagine the end goal, but they don't imagine the path. Mm-hmm. And so it's like end goal could be quite far. If you're in Atlanta, right? Is that where you stay?
Virginia.
In Atlanta, Virginia. So let's say, which part of Virginia?
I'm in the DMV. I'm right here in Alexandria, right there. Yeah,
got it. Yeah, I know Alexandria. That's where Franklin and Armfield, the worst slavers in history, is from. They still have an office there in Alexandria. Crazy that they do, but they do. But imagine if you're sitting in Alexandria and you've never been to LA, never even crossed the country, and you got a picture in your mind. You're like, I'm going to LA. I'm gonna go where they got surfboards and waves and all that. And then you just start walking. It's gonna take you a long time to get to LA, but you don't know the path. You don't know the path. You don't know it. And so if you don't put milestones on the way to it, you can't recognize where you are. You could suddenly be going north or south. And so you got to build the milestones before you head out onto that venture. And that's the strategy piece. And I don't think certainly artists who don't have a sort of at least some degree of a business acumen, and I don't mean business in the capitalist sense. I mean business in the I need to handle my business sense, right? Like I need to get to where I'm trying to get to. You have to strategize the milestones if for no other reason than orientation to where you're going, because otherwise you lose all orientation. The minute that you leave where you are mentally, emotionally, financially, if you don't got a plan, then you will lose orientation and you'll actually go back to where you came from, right? You'll go back to the place where you were before, and you'll be sullen and angry, and you'll feel like nobody was there to help you. And it's not that. You just didn't help yourself by building out the milestones and identifying them before you head out.
So before we go, I'm gonna ask you, if you will, give the people a word of wisdom anybody who may either be starting a journey, don't know where they're going, anything that's on your heart to give them a word of wisdom. And then you can do it as I already know what you're gonna say, but tell them where your book can be sold or where they can get your signature,
Yeah.
because I love, as an author and an artist myself, I love for people to get signatures. Greatest thing that
Hmm.
I think an artist or an author can give you is not the work, but
Mm,
their signature. And that's your
mm.
name.
I appreciate that. That's. There's a bunch of places right now that's holding, but I'll say this: I'm gonna simplify my encouragement. I can get quite heady about this stuff. You know, I could talk in circles, but the simplified advice or wisdom is to just have courage
Mm.
and like speak it into yourself. Speak courage into yourself. It's hard to move, man. It's hard to break the inertia. It's hard to do anything when the page is blank and when the way is long and when the mountain is tall. And the only thing that gets you from not having done to having done is courage. That's it. Just have courage. When you feel like you can't move, when you're staring at that blank page, have courage to turn it into something. Turn it into something. Just start typing. Just start walking. Just start working out. Just start like go and know that you'll be all right. But you got to have courage. Got to have courage. And when I say speak it into yourself, I mean that. Like there's so many times that I sit and I'm about to do something or I'm about to take a call and I can feel my nervousness, my nervous system reacting. It's that part of you that wants to survive, so it's going to make itself small. It's the part of you that wants to make sure it lives another day, so it's going to tuck itself away. I speak to it and I say, "Have courage, come out, come out, come on out," and then let it do what it's going to do, and know that everything's going to be all right. So that's the advice that I would give. And as for my book, it's my book it's been such a fun journey to see it find its way to book clubs and these really deep conversations that people have. And I always thought of the book as a surface, like we took it and you turn it this way, it's just a table, we just gather around this table and let's talk. And it's become that. It's become quite a conversation piece. And I love it when booksellers, um, that's when people walk in the store and they go, "I'm looking for a book that's gonna make me think," and they go, "Let me tell you about this one." They're right, and they get into it. And so I try to sign as many copies at places like that I can, because I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so there in the DMV area, I signed a bunch at Brookline, but um, but the place to go is oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the name?
Mahogany.
Mahogany. So I
That's
got
what
a
I'm
bunch at
about.
Mahogany, and then if you're in New York, I signed a bunch. I signed them all over New York, but Center for Fiction, I signed a bunch at. They're probably actually all sold out. Center for Fiction. If you're in Atlanta, Bookworm, I sold a bus, did a bunch there. If you're in Jersey, I would say um, uh, Source of Knowledge. I signed 250 copies at Source of Knowledge, so they should still have some more. Um, and then Reparations Club in LA. Big
Mm.
shot at Reparations Club. I love Rep Club. They're amazing. I signed a bunch there, and then Baldwin and Co. in New Orleans.
Well, I do want to tell you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Uh, I appreciate
Yeah,
that. All the
brother.
information, all the knowledge, the journey. I thank God for the journey that you have had because it inspires people, especially me, being an artist and an author myself. I'm grateful for the conversations that I have with
Hmm.
authors who have reached where I want to be. It gives me the
Hmm.
visual. You gave me a
Hmm.
lot of context to hold on and to even utilize for myself. So thank you.
No, bless you, man. I mean that. Bless you. It's
Bless.
always a joy to be on the call with brothers like you, man. It means the world to me.
So for all of y'all, my name is Carlos Walker. This is Art and Hustle Black Authors Matter, and this is Mr. Sebo Campbell. Peace and blessings. Love y'all.